I've been planning to do a lot of things that I know could actually help me and other people. But honestly, even when something is meaningful, I still catch myself delaying it. One of those things is feel, this framework that I've been developing about living with intention and building a life that can impact others. I know, it's ironic, but I'm sharing with you an actual experience. I believed in it, I knew it mattered, but I kept postponing it. There were always other responsibilities, other distractions, and other things that needed my time and attention. And somehow, I always found a reason to say, I'll start later. So maybe you've had moments like that too. I'll work out tomorrow, I'll start saving next payday, I'll finish my paper later. And you know, this is something that's very familiar to many people. There's a name that people often use for this in my country. Mañana habit. The word mañana comes from Spanish, meaning tomorrow. So, mañana habit. But in this video, I don't want to talk about it only as a productivity problem. Because sometimes, I'll do it tomorrow is not just about unfinished tasks. Sometimes, it affects our growth, our relationships, our responsibilities, and even the way we respond to bigger issues around us. So that's why I think this topic matters. Not because we need another reason to shame ourselves, and definitely not because we should reduce a culture to one negative habit, but because small things we delay can become patterns, and patterns can become culture. And if we keep delaying things like, rest, healing, learning, discipline, service, or accountability, eventually those delays shape the kind of the life we build. And in a bigger sense, they can also shape how we show up for our families, our communities, and even our society. This is also why I connect this topic loosely to the framework on intentional and legacy building living, or F.I.L.L. Not as a perfect solution, but as a reminder. If we want to help feel others, we also have to pay attention to what is being built within us: our values, our discipline, our courage, our capacity. Because it's hard to pour into others when we keep postponing the growth we need within ourselves. So let's talk about Mañana habit, not to judge ourselves, but to understand it more honestly. And maybe ask, what have I been putting off that I need to finally start? It's always easy to say, you're just lazy, you lack discipline, that's why you haven't started yet. But the truth is, not all procrastination is the same. Yes, sometimes it could be laziness, sometimes it is distraction, sometimes it is also fear of mistake, sometimes it is burnout, sometimes you're just exhausted, you're overwhelmed. And honestly, some people really do become more creative and effective under pressure. Some people think faster when the deadline is close. Some people produce better ideas, things when time is limited. Some people need little tension before they finally move. So the point is not to say that every delay is bad. The better question is, when is procrastination a strategy? And when is it a self-sabotage? Because there's a difference between intentional delay and avoidance. Intentional delay has a plan, it is a deadline, it is a structure, it is a reason. While on the other hand, avoidance is different. It's an escape. It's endless scrolling. It's later, just later and later. It's not now, definitely not now. It's I'll deal with it when it becomes urgent. And when that happens again and again, it doesn't just affect productivity. It affects your health. It affects your relationship, your trustworthiness, your opportunities, and sometimes your ability to show up for others. Yeah. Think about a student who wants to finish the requirements. They open the laptop, They'll look at the deadlines, and suddenly everything just feels too much. There's the pressure, the expectations, the fear that the output won't be good enough. So they take a break, and they scroll, then one video becomes 10 videos. And then the thought comes, I'll just study tomorrow. Or think about a worker who wants to upskill. She wants to learn something new. She knows this is good for her future career. And maybe she could also start a side project with this new skill. But after work, she's always drained. Traffic going home is terrible. Overtime is always long. Sleep is always short. So she keeps on saying, I'll apply tomorrow and tomorrow until she just forgets about it. Or someone also who needs a medical checkup. There are bills to pay, rent, tuition, family responsibilities. So instead of looking after her health, she would just say, I'll go next time. See, this is why we have to be careful. Not every delay is because of laziness. Sometimes there's a deeper reason. But even when the reason is valid, the consequences can also be real. So maybe the honest question is, are you resting or are you avoiding? So when does Mañana habit need to change? When it keeps hurting you, when you're always stressed, when the quality of your work keeps dropping, when you're always late, when other people are already affected, when you have so many plans but no action. This is when tomorrow becomes the reason you're no longer moving forward because you keep using tomorrow as an excuse. So this is not just personal, because when we keep delaying small responsibilities, we can also become used to delaying bigger responsibilities. I'll help next time. I'll learn about the issue later. I'll speak up when I'm ready. I'll vote more responsibly in the next election. Or maybe I'll get involved someday. So that's when a personal habit becomes a cultural issue. Because when many people keep delaying action, delay starts to feel normal. And when delay feels normal, problems stays longer than they should. So at the societal level, we need to be very clear here. Habits and culture are still very much connected. Corruption continues when accountability is delayed. Poverty gets worse when support and opportunity are delayed. Inequality grows when justice is delayed. The communities, they suffer when good people delay involvement. And in everyday life, when shortcuts, lateness, excuses, and silence becomes normal, the bigger dysfunction becomes easier to accept. That's why culture change does not only come from leaders or institutions. It also comes from repeated behavior by ordinary people. Keeping commitments, being responsible, starting small, speaking up, helping where we can, and refusing to always wait for someone else to move first. This is where F.I.L.L becomes a helpful reminder. The idea is simple. We can only pour into others what we are also building within ourselves. So if we want to help our families, communities, and society, we also need to look at what is being formed inside us. It's hard to lead when you don't have a foundation. It's hard to help others when you keep delaying your own growth. And it's hard to respond to social issues if we keep delaying learning, involvement, accountability, and action. So how do we improve from this procrastination habit? First, start smaller. Don't try to change your whole life overnight. Start with something small. Open the laptop. Write one paragraph. Save a small amount. Walk for 10 minutes, not a mile. Send in one message. Read one page. Help one person. Second, use pressure wisely. If you're someone who works well under pressure, that's okay. But don't turn crisis mode into your lifestyle. Set an earlier deadline. Break the work into smaller steps. Create mini deadlines. Use pressure as a tool, not as your entire system. Third, build discipline, not just motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you feel inspired, some days you feel tired, some days you don't feel ready at all. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is stewardship. It is how you care for your time, your energy, gifts, and responsibilities. Fourth, remove friction. Prepare for things the night before. Remove distractions, reduce doom scrolling, create simple routines, ask someone to check in on you. And fifth, connect action to purpose. When you know why something matters, it becomes easier to begin. It's not just a task, it's not just a deadline, it's part of the person you are becoming. For me, this is the key reason why I finally started with F.I.L.L framework. Sometimes we think personal habits are small, like it's just one delayed task, it's just one late arrival, it's just one excuse. But a culture is built from repeated behavior. When lateness becomes normal, delay becomes normal. When shortcuts become normal, corruption becomes easier to accept. But when intentional living becomes normal, more people become part of the solution. And when many people start changing small habits, the expectations of society begin to change too. It becomes harder to normalize dysfunction, harder to accept that's just how things are, harder to keep saying nothing will happen anyway. So maybe the question is not just why do we keep saying tomorrow? Maybe the better question is what can I start today? For myself, for my family, for my community, for the future we keep saying we want. What is the one thing you've been delaying? Your health? Your studies? Your savings? Is it your career? Pursuing the dream? Your service? Getting involved? Comment it below. And maybe today, choose one small action. Not tomorrow, not someday, today. Because your life is not just meant to be full, it is meant to be filled with what matters and poured out for others. So, hope you like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. In this time, let's not put it off until tomorrow.